we only need like 38 million trees or whatever it is to offset what we emit as a country. We have 300 times that in this country. So we offset more already by what we have in our forestry throughout the country. So,
Yeah.
there are a bunch of people here who have no idea really what they're doing. They're trying to make it sound and look good on the world stage. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
not to say that what we're doing is not going to be helpful. But I have electric, I have a plug-in hybrid. I will not go full electric as a primary vehicle because it doesn't make any sense. Even for what it takes to produce my plug-in hybrid, we will not offset that as a for the amount of, if I was to run gas in that vehicle and actually kept that vehicle for 20 years,
Yeah. It's
I will not offset what the carbon footprint is to make it.
well, I guess like right now, electric vehicles are not the best yet because unless you have a turbocharger, you're sitting there charging 2 hours in a slow place, actually charging like 8 hours to get a few more kilometers. But a fast charger, I'm talking like a Tesla, you can charge it within half an hour, 1 hour to
Yeah.
have a full battery power, right? But yeah, at this point, it's just like, yeah, people have to
But
be.
okay, think of it this way. Hyundai has some little four-door sedan. I don't know what it is, but I saw it parked at the gas station, plugged in for the electric full charge, right? And the person sitting in the driver's seat, I said, okay, so I got to ask you, because I drive a plug-in hybrid so that I don't have to plug in and pay. Okay, and I said, how much does it cost you to charge that? She goes, well, I only do 80% because that's what they tell me. And I said, that's fair enough. What does it cost you to do the 80%? About $10. And about how far does that get you on your charge? Well, it shows 180 kilometers, but it never really is, because I'm either using the AC or the heat, which burns it up pretty fast. And so realistically, thinking that on the conservative side, they get about 150. Okay, well, for $10 in a Honda Civic, I'll get far more than 150 kilometers. And here's the kicker. The Honda Civic cost me about 15 grand less than that electric car did.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and when you go to replace it, like in BC now, I see BC our monopoly insurance forces us, and now they are going to they're starting to raise the rates on electric vehicles
They are, eh? Wow.
because of the cost of the batteries. And if we get damaged, there's too many unknowns and too many safety issues for a damaged electric vehicle that they just write it off. And so you end up with more vehicle in the landfill than what would normally be there, because nobody will deal with it.
It's very expensive to fix it. That I know. And then I've also been told the batteries, take up a big space, right? Because the batteries are almost the size of a car. So it's like, I guess technology is not quite there yet, but I'm
Yeah,
always
it's a great
thinking,
idea. It's just not there yet.
yeah, I'm always thinking like, oh, I want to save the air because the increase of lung cancer, it's quite high now, and
Sure.
those people don't even smoke, So what are they breathing that's
Oh, I
causing
know
it?
it. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I did it for economic reasons. I thought, okay, and if I can do my part and contribute to, the betterment of the ecosystem. And so I bought into doing it because I was told certain things. But then as I went from a Chevy Volt to now I have an SUV with it because it finally stepped up the range. But I look at that now, all the extra research and stuff I've done since when I went to replace my Volt, and I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And here's the sad part. We have the technology already for the same size battery pack to get 5 times the distance in range, but they're not using it yet.
Because of monopoly, because of government disapproval. Yeah, it's always about making money. because the
right?
ones who have whatever you want to call it, monopoly of the fossil fuel, they don't want everybody to all of a sudden shift to electric ones, and then who's going to use the fossil fuel? But then somebody else told me that they still use fossil fuel to power up the batteries. So that's kind of like the ironic part, right? Like the whole idea is to use solar energy, green energy, but they're still
Okay.
using fossil.
So I'll give you an example. So our province is so hell bent on meeting this green initiative. Okay.
More in
That
BC
they're
than in
saying,
Toronto. Yeah.
yeah, they're saying that they are no longer allowing new builds and construction to put natural gas. Now you could run natural gas if you wanted for a fireplace or for barbecue, but you're not allowed to run it for heating. You're not allowed to run it for what do you call it? Gas stoves, right? You will not be able to put in any more Asian restaurants gas stoves in restaurants.
Wow, it's going to take a while to
So
cook.
how are the Asian restaurants going to shut down? Yeah, exactly.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so they will move out of certain areas because they'll only go into places that already have it. So you won't get them in any new builds. So all of this now, 2 years ago, we sold our excess power to places like California and Washington State because they needed it and we had excess. Okay. The last 2 years, we've imported gradually, but last year we imported 20% of our electricity, tunes of billions of dollars out of the states, typically Washington and Idaho, and they're using coal to create that power to sell us.
That's funny.
We do
So
not have the
ironic.
infrastructure
Yeah.
to run all electric here. We don't have enough power stations, and when you look at what how ineffective they are in cold temperatures. The vehicle I got, there were so many that were stuck from being where they were parked overnight in frozen bricks. And you know what Mitsubishi said?
Wait.
Tow it to a shop, put it indoors until it thaws.
So they have to defreeze. Wow, I didn't know. I just thought electric vehicles like powers up. They don't need to like that warm up like those motor machines.
Nope.
Well, but yeah, the battery does
So
deplete. So what's the thing about not using natural gas because it causes more pollution? Is that why they want to move
it's
to a green
fossil
incentive?
fuel.
Okay.
But fossil
So
fuel is used to power things. It's not
yeah.
just used to. It's used to heat buildings. It's used for all kinds of things.
So like people are trying to move to using solar powers, and also heard that if they start doing that, then there's this reflection back onto the surface, and then the sun's gonna think, okay, Earth is what is it like? It's hot enough or whatever it is. Then you increase the temperature of the earth or whatever it was. I forget the science behind all of it, but I was like, okay, that doesn't work out well because then if it's reflecting back more heat, you heat up the planet even more, and icebergs are already melting. So that's counterintuitive as well. It's like, what's a better, more positive way around this, right? Like we were just thinking, oh, using the sun energy it's a good thing, but maybe not.
Well, now our wonderful dictator that we have running our province, just so you know, I'm not a fan. He's a follower. He's not a leader. But in California, they're already talking about taxing electric vehicles on their mileage because they're not getting to get the gas tax out of them at the pump, and they use the gas tax for the roads and all that kind of stuff, right?
If
And
they
to fill the black hole.
Yeah, if they implement that too early, people are not gonna move to using green vehicles either, because then there's no
So
incentive for them, right? Right now it's because what was it? Those as a fast
rebates?
charging station, they give X amount for free just to get people
No.
like, yeah, they do, but then only X amount, right? Like
Yeah,
$20 or
here
whatever
they're
it
all
is.
most of them are private. Most of them here are privatized. And Tesla only pre 2017 vehicles were lifetime. After that, they charge you for it, and that's the kicker. When I got a friend of mine has a Tesla, took it to Calgary, and they had to stop almost 3 or 4 times to get charged.
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
there.
Because it
Okay,
doesn't go far. It's
well,
good for the city only, like not good for like
and
long
what they paid
distances.
for it, what they paid to charge, it was cheaper for me to drive my truck with a big old 360 V8 in it,
Oh,
right?
well, yeah, they probably weren't. Well, I don't know. Yeah, like the
Well, it's
slow
going up
charging
and down the mountains
systems, or
going to Alberta.
it's like I guess
You
the
gotta go through
distance.
the
Yeah,
Rockies.
at least they had a power station. Like my biggest fear, because I ran into that with the electric
Yeah.
scooter here, is
It's,
I was stuck in the middle of nowhere and there were no charging stations, and I was like, okay,
so
because
I drive to Calgary 2, 3 times, maybe 4 times a year. It's a 6.5 hour drive for me. In their Tesla, it took them 8.5 hours because they had to stop and charge. And sometimes the chargers weren't available and they had to wait, right?
yeah.
Can't sell me on that crazy. I'm sorry, not there yet.
Not there yet. So I'm wondering how UK they're doing it, because they've got all this, like lots of plug-in station areas, and people are going for it. So I'm like, what's different in their setup, in their systems there than here, right?
Well, and
Like,
you think about it, all the capitalists, nobody regulates these charging stations. And so you can have private charging stations. If you have a business or a building, you want to put your own charging station in, go right ahead. You can charge what you want.
yeah, I suppose so.
And when people need it, they're going to stop and charge because they need it. They
Yeah.
don't really pay. Nobody's really cluing into what the cost of operating these are yet. And so, how much people are charging you when you're there. Some people don't see it until after they get the bill.
It's
Oh
also
well,
a necessity, right? Because if they charge it at home, their home bill will go up, and also if they don't have
yeah. But
installed a fast charger, then it's a not
you
it
know what it
won't
cost me to
power.
charge my vehicle for the day? I get a full charge. It's about 75 kilometers. Okay, it cost me, if I'm dead empty, I'm $1.50 a day.
That's wow, it's pretty good. Because I guess it's running on the gas when you need it. Yeah.
If I need it,
Yeah.
and I don't usually need it unless I leave town. I don't need it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, after the experience, I think hybrid is still better right now, but it's not, I'm just thinking like what's the best way for the environment, but either way it's just kind of like not a win yet for
yeah.
electric yet.
So what are you doing for your podcast?
Yeah, so
Talk to me.
I'm just creating a lot more content right now. Of course, ideally I want to do it the way Marcin was talking about it. Oh, you were in the call that day. He was saying or was in the boardroom. He was saying like the beginning of the podcast, it should be very eye catching. You know what I mean? Like it should be catching so people would stay on to watch the rest of it. And it should be, yeah, like incentivizing and all that. I couldn't find the script though. I was trying to find it because Marcin said the script to do video podcast is on School. School is not the easiest to keyword search if you haven't figured out, because they will say, oh,
Yeah.
it's on School, it's in School, and School. I'm like, School where? Or Kayla will drop in a link, and then even if you're logged in or not, like you might not find the file, right? So I'm like, Kayla, just attach the file for me. Don't drop me links. Yeah, and then I just heard like with video podcasts you can get a lot more exposure and give some education to people, give them value, right? And then eventually they get to know you, they're listening, they might, who knows, turn around and invest and stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, I like making videos. It takes a while to edit. That's why I prefer if I can figure out like use some third party and make it all live, connected to like Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom. That way I don't have to go back and edit because it does take time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm like, yeah, I
See?
think that's a new trendy thing, right? Like to make video podcasts instead of just audio podcasts, and yeah, just give information to people, educate them, so that you know and exposure for you as well, right? Because that way people you can be like, hey, my video podcast is in this link, you can watch it.
Yeah, I've been
What kind
doing
of
a fair amount of these
oh,
lately.
yeah, for your own
They
thing, or
asked.
or for somebody else
Yeah,
interviewing you.
people have been asking me to do podcasts for them lately, so it's been more.
So what's your take on it? Like, do you think there should be an angle to it, like to get more what do you call it, viewers, watch followers, and do they actually like give money to you?
I don't know about that. I mean, it puts you in the field as an expert. And
Expert,
people can
yeah.
look at that, but at the end of the day, it's how it's put out there. So we'll see when all these podcasts that are recorded come out. But um, I don't really think it does anything but edify who you are and what you've done and what you're doing.
It's like a
So
yeah exposure and also yeah I think it's good for also sharing information and giving education, right? Like, well, it seems
yeah,
like from Denise McPherson that they got a lot of I don't know if it was video podcast, but they get a lot of people inquiring for more information. Eventually, they trust know them, that kind of factor to want to invest with them, right? So it's like stage speaking in a less costly, economical manner.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, when people look at what we do in raising capital, um, Denise and
Stuart.
Stuart have advantage with the MFT, but when you think about what the objectives are and the cost factors put an MFT together, and the benefits, do they outweigh what it needs to be for capital raise? Yeah, they can use the RSPs and registered funds and that kind of thing and self-direct them, and that's okay. It's not where I want to go. The amount of time required in that, putting it all together, and then managing and maintaining it, it's not, and that has to be factored into the cost of the money and what you put it to use for. And so it's coming out one way or the other. And I really, realistically, I have a 5-year objective to retire again and be ready for that. And being able to put a fund together really just means that I'm able to help people come along for the ride, if you will, to make part of the money that I'm making out of it. And, it's a win-win. Plus, the people that get to work with me, I share the trade secrets of asset protection and money management and, how to minimize your tax implications. And, we were just talking to another fellow this morning, and his objectives, are for his grandchildren, not for himself. And, figuring out what he needed or what he wanted to achieve, I'll be able to help him do that inside of a year, for what he wants to do, and put his plan in motion and have it executed. And so the nice part is that I'm able to help somebody at the same time. It's a symbiotic relationship because he's putting his money into my fund, and I'll be able to um, help him in the process of not just making him capital return on his investment, but I'm also able to help him find and solidify what he wants for investments for himself, not just for my projects, but for his own stuff. So it makes a big difference. Not everybody does that.
Well, yeah. I mean, they must love their family member to do all the setup.
Well, it's not family, I deal with accredited investors. Otherwise, I don't really have the interest of working with people because, if you're a accredited investor, it simplifies it. I don't need to deal with securities and the headaches and stuff around non-accredited investors, and that's one of the focuses for it. Um, there's enough to go around for what everybody wants to do. And so I never really think of it from a scarcity position. I think of it more from abundance. And I think there's definitely, whether it's me, somebody wants to invest with, or somebody else, they say, get out there and find your vehicle. And everybody says, well, that's just using people to use their money. Okay, well, wait a minute. They're accredited investors. They're using me to invest their money so that they're making a return on their money. So it's a win-win-win. If it's not a win-win-win, I'm not interested. I'm not, that's why I never got involved in foreclosures. That's why I never really got involved in the lower end kind of market and taking advantage of it, because it's a bad time for people when they're in that position. And for me to come around and take advantage of that, I have
Cruel.
to look at myself in the mirror every day. So,
Well, yeah, there are sharks taking advantage of that because it's like this is the best opportunity, right? And I mean, unless they're helping them out, which I doubt, they're yeah, it's a one win
mhm,
on one side. Yeah.
that's right.
So what would you say is the better way to capital raise? And if you going back to what you were saying earlier, like you don't I guess MFT does cost a lot of money to get the lawyer to set it up and this and that. But it like which way would you prefer? would you say it's easiest to capital raise without all that structure and setup and lawyer and
Well, some people look at that structure and think, okay, well, an MFT, you can collect, registered funds, which is a big deal for a lot of people, and they don't have to be accredited investors. And there's a smaller part of the population that are accredited investors. I mean, not everybody makes $200,000 a year as an individual, and couples have to make 300, or they have to have a net worth of $1 million outside of their principal residence. So not a lot of people fit in that category. So unless you have a connection to that type of the market, you're going to go down a path of least resistance. And that's either working with friends or family and thinking that you can, navigate those waters with securities, or going into an MFT. But you're putting upwards of $250,000 to invest into an MFT, and you can do it for a little bit less, but you're also doing a lot more of the work on the other side to make that happen. And then you've got management of it as well. So, and that's an ongoing expense. If I was, half my age and looking at doing this, from way back when I started, MFTs weren't really on my radar back then. So, but if I knew it back then and that was the way I wanted to go, I might have looked at it and considered it. No, I probably still wouldn't have done it. The amount of management and maintenance it takes to do that, there's big cost factors into what you have to take out of a fund to manage that and pay for it. And I'd rather give that back to the investors. Not saying that MFTs are a bad thing, just so you know. They're just a different vehicle. And just because somebody has registered funds doesn't make them any more safe by being in an MFT. People think, well, my RSPs and I can put it into an MFT. Just because an MFT can take an RSP doesn't mean it's a safe investment, because that safe investment is chosen by the person running the MFT. And there are people like I like Denise and Stuart, and I think what they do with their projects are smart, and I think how they operate it is from a place of sensibility and educated risk. But there are people who, if they got involved in an MFT, who knows? But every deal is not suspect, is at risk of going sideways. Market could change, government can change. I got fourplexes on the go, and I'm trying to do a few more. And if our government had changed like I was expecting it to change, that our new leader would have 86 the whole program, and these instant or what do they call it, the mandated density program would have gone away, and that would have meant I had to pivot, and I probably could have been in a position to lose a lot of money if I was too far into certain projects, without actually having them in the government process yet. And that could cost a lot of money too. So you think if that was inside of an MFT, it wouldn't matter whether it was there or with me, it could have gone sideways.
so how were you able to mitigate that risk when there were so many factors involved in like the government politics and the mortgage rates and fluctuated.
It's educated decision making. I mean, I've been at this for 25 years. It's been a long time for me to know what markets are doing, how to take advantage of it. More importantly, with the training that I was fortunate enough to be part of many years ago, I was well trained on a variety of things. Asset protection, land assembly, syndication, condo conversion, creative financing. Wholesale. There are so many different parts of each one of those courses that play a contributing factor to our decision making process in a deal. It makes me a well-rounded investor. It's not like I was just taught how to buy wholesale and sell wholesale and that's it. Next thing you know, I'm doing land development. I wouldn't have gone down that path had enough training or education behind it, and the experience now that I've had by doing a variety of these things. you can't learn inside of a book the things that I've done over 25 years. The biggest lessons I've learned, I've paid for in cash. It's they're not cheap lessons sometimes, but they are the ones, that set you straight on how to do things differently. But being able to be strong in what we do, we also have to have the ability to pivot. And that's huge. You know, it really comes down to your education, your understanding, and your ability to pivot when you need to.
So on along that same lines, what would you recommend someone new or starting out in real estate, like who to get education from or training with, or which mentor? Like, do you have some names or training programs that you highly advise? Because each program is very kind of like specialized, right? Niche specific. Like some just train on multifamily, some only train about like, flipping. Some trainers they teach everything, and you don't know are they for real or they never even own a single property. Like.
I don't know personally any companies right now that teach everything. It's been a long time, and even back when we took the training, my buddy and I, it was hard. The only reason I did it was because the fellow that rewrote that program for Canada, I got to meet and talk to, and how and why they did what they did, because it was another American company that came
Mm.
to him in Canada and said, I want you to teach this in Canada. And he said, no, I can't do that. And he said, why not? Because it's illegal. Most of that stuff can't be done in Canada. It doesn't apply. So he came back to him and said, can you rewrite it for me for all Canadian content? So he did that. And then when I saw that, I confirmed with my lawyers, my accountants, my mortgage brokers that I can do these things. And then I asked them why they never told me I could do these things. And they said, well, because you never asked. And I didn't know I didn't know those were questions to ask. I didn't know I could close on 3 houses in one day. Nobody told me that. So I started buying 3 houses in one day. So why not? Right. I mean, it was, if it's allowed, I'm going to do it if I can. So the thing is, today, there are people who are being specialized in what they teach, share, expose people to. There's not a lot of people. I don't like to recommend one particular program, and the reason for that is that everybody has a different connection with somebody they meet. You and I may meet, and we click and we become friends, and that's fine. But I might see somebody just like you or somebody else that I met at the same time I met you, and okay, well, I didn't have anything against them. I didn't dislike them, but I never became friends with them either. And therefore, my ability to learn from somebody like that would be hindered, right? When you find somebody that you can gravitate to and that what they're saying makes sense, and you can have an opportunity to verify the information that you're looking at before diving into training with somebody, that's a good opportunity for somebody to do enough background or research on somebody before they make a decision.
Absolutely. Sorry, just give me one sec.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what? It's okay. He took care of it himself. I think it's the gas meter guy or whatever. He just
Oh.
just walked in. I'm like, okay, yeah. So that's
But
yeah. Go ahead.
the one thing that people should think of, well, it doesn't matter who you choose to learn from. That's on to you, and so on. Whatever you do, get yourself a mentor.
I
Just like the trades, you need to get your feet wet, do some things, work with a teacher, find out how to do these things so you can mitigate your risk, and then have educated support behind what you're doing, and then turn around and be able to have that support ongoing. It's huge. I
right.
still talk to my mentor from 20 years ago.
I agree. I
You
mean,
know,
it's fabulous. Like some, to find a mentor. I mean, some you can only get them by paying the coach. So here's the big question: where would one who's new find a mentor, right? Because unless they're in a lot of programs, talk to a lot of people, and then find, oh, here's a gold nugget. Somebody is like, does everything ethically with dignity and with integrity, and they're willing to mentor. Then you find a gold nugget, right? Otherwise there's a lot of people they just only want to coach for money. They don't want to like mentor anybody, or they're too busy. So it's like.
I know I get asked all the time, and Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It really depends. I'm not somebody's accountability partner, right? I'm there to help them solve the problems, right? If you look right there on my card, my business card right there, it says solution
I
specialist.
like that. Yes.
All I do is solve problems, right? And in
Mm.
solving problems, I make a difference for people one way or the other. And so I do the same things for my mentoring mentees. I don't call them students because they're the people that do what they do and they're educated in their own fields. But my clients that I do mentor from time to time, when I find that either I have a weak moment or somebody convinces me that there's a reason why I should mentor them, um, I take it to heart and I want people to do it. People say, well, how long's the mentoring for? You know what? There are programs that you have a mentor for 6 months or a couple months or a year even. I don't care. I still like I mentored these two guys 15 years ago. He still calls me up and asks me for advice. I don't care. As long as they're not wasting my time, I'm happy to help for the rest of their life. And all I do is, I've got relationships and friendships with these people for decades, right? So some people say, well, you don't charge more for it ongoing. I'm like, no, because that's not what it's about. It's about making a difference for people. And if I can help them realize their goals, or even if it's just helping them reframe a thought that they had on a property or a project they didn't think about before, and if it makes a bit of difference for them or a huge difference, even better. So anyway, that where they're going to find it, there's all kinds of places that offer it. People say, well, how can you mentor people when you were there and then you lost it all? Well, to be honest, I'd rather learn from somebody who's been there, done that, lost it, and doing it again than somebody that's never lost anything, because they don't know the pitfalls. They don't know the downside of it. I've dealt with hostile takeovers. I've dealt with embezzlement. I've dealt with, property managers stealing 5-10 grand a month from me. I've dealt with tenants that refuse to pay. I spent me 40 grand to get a tenant out of a house, one time. It's just unreal some of the things you deal with, and they're not cheap. Real estate is not for the faint of heart. I don't care what you do. If you don't have a strong stomach for dealing with tenants and toilets and termites, don't get into the game. If you're, this go around, I don't care to build the empire. I don't want to rebuild it, but I want to use real estate as the vehicle to prepare and set up a retirement. So, my wife and kids, if some bus hit me tomorrow, would be okay.
Knock on wood.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and the sad part is, as much as I joke about that, only the good die young. So I'm probably gonna live to like 120.
There's more people you gotta mentor then. Yeah. No, that's amazing that you have a heart to help people out, because nowadays, like I call it the Toronto urban mentality, where it's like, if I scratch your back, you gotta scratch my back, right? Like, what's in it for them if they help? It's always like, okay, well, you pay them, they'll help you, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, they'll train you and teach you
Yeah,
because you pay them for that service, right? Otherwise, a lot of people are too busy, or they don't want to, like, give away free information because they want to get paid for it. And I think it's also there.
I didn't get here with my own either.
Mm,
If I didn't have the mentors and the relationships that I've had over the years, I wouldn't have gotten to where I got to. I mean, I bought 120 houses in 90 days with none of my own money.
holy smokes.
Okay. I went from 100 grand net worth to 20 million in 24 months.
Wow.
20 million net worth in 24 months.
I would like to know
That's
more about
unheard
that.
of.
How can
Well,
one
that's a much
feel it?
longer story. That's a much
I've
longer
got
story.
time. It's only 2 p.m. Maybe you need sleep though, but yeah.
But it's part of the process of the things you learn,
Yeah.
and being open to being there for other people. It only fuels the fire and the energy from within to help people. And when people need help, there's not a problem I can't typically solve. If I don't know how to do it myself, I've got 6,000 people in this little phone book of mine, or you can't see it on the
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah,
thing,
it's
but
phone.
in my phone, I got 6,000 people on my contact list. I do know some people I can reach out to if I didn't actually have the answer myself.
I think that's the great part because somebody gave you a hand back then. You were able to kind of give that back to the community. Well, some of us like never had a mentor and we're just like paying out of our own pocket all these trainings, and some are helpful, some it's just like, okay, it's just information, they never even done it. And that's the start problem when I found out, right? It's like, okay, well, I guess it was a nice PPT though, yeah. I want to touch on something that we talked about a while ago, relationship building, right? Like professional friendships and this and that. And there's a lot of people that I think it comes easy for you. Like you meet somebody on an airplane, and then and the next thing you know, they've got capital to invest in your deals. But for somebody who's like not used to that, right? Like I came from like government work and the network marketing. Like I know it's key to any business, right? Like if you have, even in Taiwan, everything it's fostered by guanxing, like influence, right? Like you either have a red envelope or some gift for them, or invest in their company, and then in their stocks or whatever it is. Then they're more willing openly to kind of help you out a bit more. But you can't bribe them in Canada with gifts to help you out. So what's a good way to kind of when you meet somebody new, or even somebody you know from before, to kind of build that relation, right? Because some are like, oh, well, they send them happy birthday cards. I'm like, I don't know their birthdays, or they don't want to share some personal information with me because it's personal and private. So I'm like, okay, well, how far do we go? How far not, right? And then some are more open. You just kind of work with those open people and help them, and then they'll help you back. And then there's some like you think they're an asset, but they're very closed. Like I know somebody who like back then invests a lot on pre-construction condos, and when I asked him for help, he was like closed. But he needed help in like finding a date, and I'm like, I can help him out with that, but he's like so closed, right? Like there's just no way to bridge, and I'm like, I leave him be because he's not. There's no way he will ever help me out in anything. So I'm like, forget it. I can't help him with anything, either back, right? Like,
You know what? It's that whole karma thing. I help people out of many situations, and I see nothing back directly from it. It's not why I did it, and yet there's other things that come into my world, if you will, by happenstance, because the karma's there, because I've helped other people. You have to do it for the right reasons too. And I look at the connections and the people that I meet, and the whole professional networking and building the rapport with people. We've met just a few times. I mean, I only met you a couple times in Toronto when I was there, and with technology today, we can be as close as we are here today on Zoom. I mean, hell, you're in Taiwan right now. I mean, geez, I mean, when I was doing real estate in the beginning, this didn't exist,
it's phone calls or
right?
snail
And
mail.
even then, phone calls
It's
at
long
99
distance.
cents a minute,
Yeah, it's
right?
expensive.
And so now, with technology, the ability to be there for people and help them, it's just an amazing thing. But the whole thing about professional networking, it isn't, and it should never be about, my hand, you scrub my back, I'll scrub yours. It's not, it should never be about that. It's about building a relationship. And my suggestion to people is, and I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but be interested, not interesting. You know, be there and listen when you meet people, because people are comfortable about talking about things they know. And what do they know better than anything else? Themselves. And if there's a chance of you being able to help somebody or make a difference or build a connection or a rapport, it's going to be about asking about them. People ask me what I do. I solve problems for a living, right? I'm a solution specialist. That usually leaves them pretty stumped, and they think about it while we're having a conversation, and I immediately turn it back to asking them questions, give them opportunity to share with me about who they are, what they're about, what their hopes and dreams are, where do they come from, I care more about that than, sure, would it, if they had the ability to invest with me and do something, sure. It's a byproduct of the communication and the connection that we're building. So that's why my database is 6,000 people. It's not for any other reason. It's like some of these people haven't talked to me probably 5 or 10 years, but I know if I pick up the phone, they'd answer, because we had a connection and they still remember who I am. So that to me is more valuable than whether we ever did business together.
It's amazing. Yeah, well, I don't think there are too many Ken Changs around like you. Because they're all after like, okay, let's do business. Like, show me the money, and okay, let's move on. Next thing, it's like, okay, like you don't even know my name. It's like, all right, yeah. In the past, you've also mentioned like, oh, this is it's totally on the side actually. Yeah, like you've done a lot of different kinds of deals and so on. What's your projected thing that you're like working towards now? And yeah.
What am I working on now? I'm simply creating a fund. I've actually in the process of creating a few GPLP structures so that with different people, and because they have different networks of individuals that they want to build that with, and I'm going to work with them to help realize their dreams and put stuff together. But my objective out of it isn't to own real estate. Honestly, owning real estate is overrated. Owning real estate after you buy it and do the deal is boring as sin. I mean, really, and if it's not boring, it's a headache, right? Because you're dealing with nothing but putting out fires. I'd rather do a deal, be in and out of it, make some money on it, make people happy with the money they made on it, and then turn around and build my own nest egg to be able to be a private lender. Or, if I have a couple million in the bank and my wife and kids could live off the interest off of that, for the rest of their lives. It's not an issue that way. So for me, it's about creating funds that I can do projects with, so that my portion of that can go to build our own fund for my family to put to work for themselves over the next 15, 20 years if they wanted to. So that's where I'm going with it. And in the process, I'm going to be able to provide some decent housing for people. I'm going to be able to do some creative projects. I'm hoping to do an off-grid land development project. There's all kinds of fun things I want to do. And I'll do that with some funds that we create with a couple of different individuals or groups. And the beautiful part about creating a fund is that two things. If you have a fund of capital that you can deploy at any time, most of these deals that are good deals, they're either time sensitive because somebody needs to solve a problem, or if you have cash and can act now, it's going to be a better deal. Well, you try and raise money within a week if you're in a situation where they need to cash quick. But if you have a fund that you can deploy into any project because you have access to it, it's like having a line of credit at the bank that's already sitting there waiting for you to write a check, as opposed to putting the deal together, crunching the numbers, making the math, justifying the existence of it, going to the bank and saying, please, please, please give me money. I'm sorry. It's just, it's so, I'm going to be polite. It's so idiotic that that's the way that has to work. So working with the people like we have been and understanding their mentality, and it was a big mind shift for me. It's, why not just create a fund? And yeah, I'm sharing the wealth with those that are contributing to the fund. But so what? The more people I make money, the happier they're going to be.
Totally.
Share the
Yeah.
wealth. It's not just about me. I know that's hard to believe sometimes for some people.
Yeah, because again, they're all for about themselves, right? Like it's one of those independent, selfish societies. So the more money they make, they feel they're more successful in business, and that's doing what they want to
Remember
do.
I told you I bought 120 houses in 90 days with none of my own money?
Tell
Okay,
me more
well,
about
it
that.
was, well, it was really simple, is that my real estate portfolio exploded when I realized that it wasn't just about me. And the more people that I was able to help make them profitable as well, I made so much stupid money in there. I mean, I created, geez, I think that at the end of those 90 days, I think my passive income was close to 20 grand, or no, sorry, 70,000 passive income per month.
Wow.
So I didn't need any more income. So I actually tried to give, it only took a few, well, probably 6 months, and I had all everybody's money now. I went to go give these people their money back, and nobody wanted it back. They say, no, 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 go find something else to invest in. So then I started buying commercial buildings. Then I started buying trailer parks. Then I started buying warehouses. And then I started buying, and that's how within 24 months, it grew to this massive portfolio, and it's just, it happened to me not because I was driven to make stuff happen like that. It was because of circumstance.
Yeah,
When I learned, go ahead.
some people might say you're lucky, you have the money Midas touch, or you're in the right place at the right time. Because yeah, you also mentioned like there was one time you had to build from bottom up again, and there are a lot of people who might not be like take those high risk, or they don't know how to rebuild it, right? Like everything was set for them, they just took over and stuff like that. So for those who are like starting out, or they have to build from bottom up again, what would you suggest, like advise them do to kind of be able to go from bottom up again, or ground zero, or whatever, or whole from the whole back up, or whatever you want to call it?
There are a lot of people who lost a lot in real estate, and when I lost the bulk of the fortune, it was right, 2008 with the economic crash. Right? I mean, it wasn't, real estate dropped. We saw it coming, just not that fast. And the way the world operates today, it's lightning fast. Um, at the end of the day, be open, be honest. There's no point in hiding stuff. I mean, people will find what they want to find if if they're looking. I've got nothing to hide. I'm an open book. I'll tell anybody what they want to know if they have any questions. But I think part of my stick, if you will, is that I am an open book to people. I don't have anything to hide. If I'm going to be doing business with them, I'll guarantee you they're going to know my history before I do business with them, and that's simply because I need them to know this is who I am, but this is also why I am the way I am, and the why I do business the way I do it, so that I don't have these problems again.
Well, I
Right.
do agree.
So
Like honesty and transparency is the key to trust, right? Like if they're hiding stuff, then if something percolates again, and then they're like, "Well, you never told me about that. You were hiding information." It's like, okay, do you want more information? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I tell people if they've been through the ringer, own it. If you were at fault for something that went sideways, own that too. I gotta tell you, not every decision I made was so astronomically fabulous. You know, I made mistakes, and I own them. But be a man or woman of your word. Do what you say you're gonna do, and be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a difficult thing to ask.
Or
You
or
know,
learn from the situation and change and improve, right? Like there's some who are just repeating the same
yeah,
pattern of behavior, and I'm like, okay, so we were at this 4 years ago. What's new? Like, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So that is probably my biggest piece of advice for people. And going through something and having something happen, if you don't learn from it, that's your mistake. It's okay. Shit happens. Just learn from it. Learn what not to do. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you another question. Oh yeah, I like to say this to my coach, but he's like, "Yeah, no, there's no such a thing." In real estate, like you were fast, right? You made a lot of money in like very short amount of time. What's like the inside secret sauce, the scoop of it, like to be able to do real estate really fast? Because a lot of people say, oh, it's a slow business, right? You just buy and wait, buy and hold and just wait for it to appreciate and blah blah. So what was the strategies that you used that you were able to like, I guess, buy large properties and sell it and make money really fast, or whatever, however you did it? Like, what was it?
Well, there's a couple things I learned early in my trainings is at Millionaire U, if you will, we learned that real estate is about the math. The only difference between buying an 8-unit apartment building and a 400-unit apartment complex is the number of zeros at the end of the deal. At the end of the day, it's about the math. So that's the first step. The second step is to be, well, what do they call that? Well versed in real estate, if you will. You're trained in multiple areas. I mean, that's where it gave me the ability to pivot when I had to pivot. And it wasn't, if I didn't have all that insight or that training, would I have been able to do all that I did in that short period of time? No. But I was open to, decisions. And when people knew that I was a guy that would get things done, no problem. They called me all the time. I had real estate people that, when I went to Winnipeg with one of my friends and real estate investors, and we put 145 offers in one weekend. He thought we were nuts. He didn't say anything about it, but he thought we were nuts. I talked to him lots about it later. And, a few weeks later, we closed on 2 or 3 of those. And then we closed on some more. And then we put more offers in. Well, I think it was in 18 months, maybe 24. I probably ran almost 200 and some odd deals through him, through that one real estate agent. That's a good year for him. So did he think we were crazy when we started? Yes. Did he question it? No, he just did what we asked him to do. And it worked. The methods that we use and the things that we're taught, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Trial by fire, put it out there. If it works, great. If it doesn't, don't do it again. And at the same time, it could just be it could be the right thing, but the wrong market. And you know what? I would never have gotten anywhere with all that if it wasn't for my mentor. He was available for me to pick up the phone and call when I had problems or when I was trying to figure things out. He was the one that convinced me when all the banks started saying, okay, you got a lot of properties real fast and that all looks good, but we gotta put the brakes on now. And then I wasn't able to buy houses for a while. And I called my mentor and I said, well, what do I do with all these properties I got? I had a huge influx of properties coming to me. I was buying, 3 a week. And sometimes I bought a package of 20, right? So I mean, it just happens. And I bought that package of 20 because I ran all those deals through that one realtor, and he had a guy that wanted to retire and his kids didn't want to deal with his real estate. So he sold me the whole package. I bought it all in one shot. Okay, so these are things that come up because you're open to the experience, you're open to whatever is thrown your way. So when I called my mentor and said, hey, listen, I've got all these great deals. What do I do with them? He says, well, do you have the cash to close on them? I said, yeah. But that doesn't make any sense at all, paying 100% cash for a building. It's just not good leverage. So and he said, well, then sell them, wholesale it out to somebody. I said, no, you don't understand. These are good deals. I mean, like a cash on cash return of 80% a year, cash on cash. That's a pretty good return. I don't want to give it away. He goes, well, then pay cash for it. I said, no, that's just wrong. So I started signing them away. So next thing you know, I'm wholesaling these properties off at 3 a week. I was making $9,000 a week.
Wow.
Maybe spent about 2 or 3 hours of work. That's pretty good return. But that's only because I had this machine going, and then I had to pivot. And had I not known how to pivot or had the resources or the mentor, none of that would have happened. And people wonder why or what the value of having that mentor is. Yeah, that's one of them.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. Would you say having a financial background is necessary for doing real estate? Because I know some people like coming from other industries and they're just like deer in a headlight and
It's a benefit, if you will, to understand the math. But I'm going to tell you that most people don't. Like even my friend that went out to Winnipeg and put those offers in with, she was a chartered accountant by profession. She goes, math never looked this good, so I don't know. Nobody taught me this in school. So no, I mean, understanding money and how it works, yeah, that's important and it can be a benefit. But there's a story, I think it was Henry Ford, and somebody said, well, how do you have all the answers? And he goes, I don't have all the answers, but I got a button on one of these phones. One of these buttons will get me to somebody that'll get me the answer. I don't got to be the smartest guy in the room. I just got to know how to find one,
Exactly. That was a
right?
good line, yeah. So having done so many different types of properties and you have lots of experience from uh, different deals and so on, what would you say is your favorite strategy, like buy and hold or wholesaling, or you like all of them?
People ask me what I do in real estate. My first answer is usually I'm a solution specialist. I solve problems. But they ask me what I like to do and how I like to make money in real estate. My answer is doesn't make money, because I don't really care what it is. Does it make money? If it does, then I'll do it. It doesn't mean I'll keep it. Most likely at this point in my life or career stage, whatever you want to call it, I don't care if I ever own another piece of real estate, you know, but building a fund so that I can be a hard money lender, private money lending, joint venture partner, whatever you want to call it. So the opportunities are there for me to participate in the game and make a difference for somebody else at the same time. To me, that's fun. So, there's no favorite, there's no favorite way for me to do it. I got some projects that are pretty cool that I like, I like fractional ownership, but I like the short-term things that make sense. Yeah, they're maybe not as profitable as the long-term ones, but I don't have any more hair to pull out. I can't do that anymore. I already pulled it all out. So, short-term ones, quick and easy, in and out, 12, 24 months max, there's no point in being into it much longer than that. And if I ever had another tenant or toilet in residential real estate, shoot me. You know,
Too much
I'll buy
work.
you dinner if I ever end up with it, because they're just not worth it. There's appreciation. I mean, heck, when I bought a dozen houses in Kelowna in 2.5 years, and had I done nothing else in real estate, those things would have made me a multi-millionaire by now. Well, that's hindsight. Okay. At the end of the day, yeah, that would have been amazing appreciation with all the other problems that come with it. Capital gains tax, all this and that. Oh my God. Let me make my money, get in and out of deals, leave some money on the table for the next guy that wants to buy it or invest or build it or do whatever they want with it, and move on to the next thing. You know, there isn't really anything. I think anything that's creative to me is fun. Making a difference or something for other people that they can't wrap their heads around, to me, that's fun. I was just ran across this church deal, today that somebody was telling me about. I said, I didn't think that was for sale. It's actually a really cool opportunity. I wouldn't have had that if I didn't go for coffee. So, and church. Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
gonna go buy a
what are you
church,
gonna do
buy a
with the church? Are you
church.
just gonna sell it to another pastor,
No,
are you
no,
converting into a
no.
hotel? Like,
I have a few ideas for it, but I'll either create some micro housing inside of it or micro businesses, and then I'll probably likely just sell it off, or I'll maintain the building and sell the business portion off once we get it up and running. Shared office space. There's a daycare possibility for it. There's lots of pros and cons to it. I can't let it all out of the bag yet because it's too fresh, but yeah, churches can be cool, and they've got their benefits for tax breaks and things too. So as long as you're still doing things that fall within those guidelines, and if not, so what? I'll redevelop it and sell it. Big deal.
I always think of a like a spiritual land to be, I call it spiritual. Um, it's one of those very very sensitive ritual places where it's got the power of the vortex, so you can't just do whatever with it. Like
If the church
graveyards, you
wants
don't want
out
to
of
build
it,
something on it in case like the ghosts come and haunt the residents, right? So it's like, oh, you gotta maintain that parallel access spot of of the vortex to do something good with it, right? Like spiritual, like thank God or something. But yeah, now I heard like there are a lot of churches, temples. Just they just build it in any land. It's not because there's a like a power center happening there. And I'm like, what? Then that that defeats the whole purpose of building a spiritual
Well,
education center. Yeah.
in today's world, like, like you and I are sitting on Zoom, I mean, so many churches do it online now. They find it difficult to
Or
keep their
physicals.
congregation.
Hmm.
And so, some churches, they don't have the money to rebuild or do these things. So there might be an opportunity for me to play in that one, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably stick with a theme or do something like that because it's kind of a unique building, and I'd love to be able to capture some of that essence and keep it, because I do think that's important. I don't think like tearing it down and rebuilding it is an option, but it really depends on the city and what they have to say. So
Okay. Okay.
if
Yeah,
I told
because
you any more, I'd be giving away where it is and what it is.
and this
And
is recorded and it's gonna be live. No, it's not live. Yeah, it's all right. We'll find out later when you tell us in a few weeks or a few months. Yeah, I always thought like those spiritual centers have actually they make a lot of money. So to hear that a church is going on sale, just kind of like it's hard for me to
because
kind of understand that.
they don't always make a lot of money. That's the
Mm,
thing. It's like anything. If you have a bad pastor or I don't know what minister, I don't know, whatever they call them for their
bad
individual
mismanagement.
churches.
Yeah, or they didn't get enough
Sorry?
donations. Bad mismanagement, right?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, they don't have the personality to attract people that want to stay, and sometimes you get a new one in and it pisses off a bunch of the old congregation and they all go somewhere else, and next thing you know, a bunch of people follow. It's it can be different.
What interesting property to have. That's great. Yeah. So one last question. I know it's very late for you. There is what do you actually no? I have two more questions. Okay, scrap that. Okay, I have more questions. What would you like to be remembered and known for?
Making a difference for those that I knew.
That's awesome. And the other question I had is I don't know if your family is interested in real estate. And when you were talking about generational wealth, you mentioned like private loans, this and that. I guess that's built through funds and stuff like that, or is that through like family office where they just continue doing private loans and somebody's managing like your attorney or
Um, for me, it'll be about creating a fund to use the fund to do projects that will make our profits on and build our net worth back up that way. As far as my family goes, my youngest son might step up and he showed interest in it. And I believe so at one point he may take over what I'm doing with it. But as far as, like rebuilding the empire, yeah, if I rebuilt it and I get hit by a truck, my wife would just sell it all off anyway. She has no interest in managing a portfolio of properties.
wow. So you don't
So
have
whether they're
somebody like
commercial or
a
not.
yeah like a business partner who will take over and manage it, right? Because then you have to trust that person to continue the family legacy.
So here's the thing, you know, I've been married to this amazing woman for 26 years. So in real estate, I date. I'm not getting married again. I'm staying married to my wife. So in real estate, I date a lot, you know. You and I might date, we might play a project together. I'll do one with Bob over here, Terry over there, Sally over there. And I get around a little in real estate. It gives me variety, spice of life. I don't need to marry anybody else and become a partner. Partnerships can be overrated. At the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen to somebody, what path they're going to take. I'm honest with everybody I get into business with. I say this is the project, but I do know I have stuff going on elsewhere with other people, and it's not because I dislike doing business with you. I just have these other opportunities, and so I might have 4 or 5 things on the go with 4 or 5 different people, and that's okay. And as long as I'm open and honest with everybody, I might. Very rare would I ever see a project or something I do that I would stay in long term with a partner in. Very rare. And if I did actually do something and hold it and own it, it would be commercial, not residential.
Interesting. In
And
spite of
it's
how,
toilets and
yeah,
termites. Remember that.
yeah. Because you know, right now with a lot of people loving working from home, the real estate in those buildings, they're not going up. They're not appreciating because you know,
All
it's
depends
more
on what
filled
you
now than
do with
before.
it.
Yeah, you know what to do with it. Okay, awesome. Yeah,
All
and
depends on what you do with it.
yes.
Yeah.
Which market would you recommend someone to go into and doing? Because it seems like, are you sticking with more in the West BC area, or have you done other markets like in US and international? I don't know, like
I was
Dubai
just
or
down in
wherever.
Texas.
Just
I
you
was
like
just down
Texas?
in Texas looking at stuff there. You know what? I don't care where it is. If it makes sense for where it is, so what? Do it. Be in and out of it. I don't want to travel so much, so I do it at home. I mean, I could be doing these fourplexes in Calgary or something like that, and I'd probably make more money on them doing them out there and than doing them here. And some of the things they do out there make it easier to do it out there. But at the end of the day, I like to be home at night. I don't, my kids are adulting and they're fun, and I don't want to be away as much as I used to be when I first did this. Because I was away a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love to travel and I love friends and I love to go meet and say hi to people and do crazy things. But um, I don't really care where it is. I'll do it wherever. If I'm doing it somewhere other than here, I'm probably in on it with somebody that's local there or close to it, so that it makes sense. I'm working on some stuff right now with a couple guys out of California, and we might find something in Kentucky. Who knows? And at the end of the day, that's okay. I got some pretty cool guys I'm doing some stuff with, and a friend of mine in Texas, we met, we had a great visit and connected, and there might be some stuff for him and I to play with. Who knows? I don't care where it is. It doesn't make sense and doesn't make money. The math has to work. The economics of where it is has to make sense. Just because I can build something here and make it profitable doesn't mean I can do that everywhere, because it might not be what that area needs.
Yeah.
That's what one of the big things about probably helping my success and all the things I've done within real estate is having that other knowledge and the things that I can do with it and pivot. I think differently and outside of the box for many people, and it's probably been one of the best things that's aided my success. My friend calls me an aberration. I looked it up one time and couldn't figure it out. And she said, you're a freak of nature. Because not many people do what I do in a lifetime, let alone what I did inside of 2 years. So, you know, okay. But I just know I think different. And that's the important part. When I do, and I can find something that is an opportunity that somebody passed on because they didn't see it, that's kind of cool.
And how can someone build all that, like that gift, that talent, of that expertise or knowledge, or you just work with different people and hopefully something soaks in?
Um, I don't know if you can tell. Not so much. There's a lot of gray. The little stubbly things, they're gray even. So,
Self-improvement.
it comes with time, experience. A lot of that is because I was open to things and people invited me to participate in different things and to play in different projects. I was very fortunate to be um, included in projects and deals because I was available, because I had the background and the knowledge of doing what I did, because people knew who I was and what I was capable of, that I could think outside of the box and help solve problems or figure out something different to do with something. I had a friend of mine who won a house in a card game, and it turned out to be a grow up. And then he wanted to sell to that person, but couldn't because I couldn't figure it out. So I figured it all, I did it all, and I got a, I don't know what I make on that. I think I made like 15 or 20 grand. That was a long time ago. But I set it all up, structured it so the new person could buy it, take it over, blah, blah, blah. And I got him out of a problem, probably made him 150 grand in the deal. So it's just about being in the right place and knowing that I have the ability to execute and do things. And that's why when I was buying all those properties, realtors would bring me deals all the time because they knew if I liked it and the math worked and it made sense, I could execute it and get it done. So
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chung. I didn't
Yeah,
mean to
thanks
introduce
for
you at the
having me on.
beginning. Yeah, this is very insightful, and it's great to see that one shouldn't be afraid or just stick to one type of property, but that it's good to go out, experiment with different ones, and gain a lot of valuable knowledge and experience out of it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Okay. Enjoy your
All
night.
right.
Yeah, because you're a
You
free
too.
Turk.
When are you
Yeah.
coming back to Canada?
To be honest, if nothing's going on, I don't see a point of going back to Canada, right? Because I want to do everything remote. I want to build a real estate, but I feel like, oh, it takes so long to like get anything. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get the budget? Maybe I have to capital raise to like get deals and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should really go back to a job because now I've got to pay off all those credit cards and line of credit. So I'm like kind of in this perplexed kind of stuck mode because I was like binge eating so much information from like how to be a coach, how to do health coaching, how to like speak on stage, how to like everything's so interesting, right? Like new shiny syndrome. And I'm like, I like real estate because that's what helped me float all along, like rental properties. But at the same time, like not in a big scale. Like it's for me, I'm just thinking so small still, right? Like how do I move from condos, triplex to something bigger, like multifamily or commercial, or other stuff that I guess I don't have a budget for, or I feel it's so high risk, right? Like,
But do you need to?
and
Do
the
you
more I
really need to
learn,
do that?
yeah, I feel like the more I learn, the more scared I am. So that's another hindrance for overlearning. And each trainer is very different, right? Like each coach, they will
Yeah.
teach different things too. So that's why I find real estate like to wear the big boys pants. You have to have so much like courage and braveness and not overthink things and just you know
That's, again, when you get into things like that, that's the power of having a mentor and being able to draw down on that experience. Very difficult to otherwise.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Well, when you play this back and you start editing, you have questions, you think about it, give me a ring. You know how
Okay,
to find me.
awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Love you. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Bye.